What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. I am, of course, Jimmy, and we are proudly sponsored for the warm-up by Action Coach Sheffield and Triple Point Brewing. Thank you to them for their support. This was due to be a fairly straightforward Brentford preview, sort of keen to talk about our momentum and where we can go and what if we actually get 3 points at the weekend? Surely not. And a few of these things. But there's been some news that's come out. We're just going to jump straight into it. Some news that's come out this afternoon, revealed by the club in a statement to say that Sheffield United have accepted a 2 point, well, it's a 4 point deduction, 2 points of which are suspended for the next time we're due in the EFL. So in the Championship, if you like, which is likely to be next season. And there's been obviously a huge reaction to this online. And it's an interesting one. And before we get started, I just want to make it quite clear that I'm not here to sway you one way or the other. I think that we've never been about that, really. I can only give you my honest opinions and what I know, limited information on what I do know. But I'm not here to say you should be supporting Prince Abdullah, because I think some people tend to think, or it certainly tries to get spun by certain places, that I'm sort of a shill for the Prince. And don't get me wrong, I've been fortunate enough to speak to the Prince on a couple of occasions. I'm very grateful for that, and I'm grateful for the insight that I get. I was actually made aware of this news with a couple of others before it was actually released. I didn't even know it was coming myself in terms of it was completely like a bolt out of the blue. And I'll be honest, when I first heard it, I spoke to Good Nick from Sheffield United Way, and I were a lot more negative than he was about it. When I first heard it, it were like 2 points. 2 points is huge. But when you recognise that it's the alternative was much worse, and this is subjective, so you can make your own ideas about this and whether you agree or don't agree. So the what's happened is a lot of people are asking why. I saw that on Twitter early doors. Why is it happening to us? Is it another breach? Have we done something else wrong? No, it's the same issue as we had the season we got promoted. It's the transfer embargo, where it's been revealed that we haven't paid monies owed on up to 5 transfers that's been reported. I don't know the details, in all honesty. I don't know what the terms of the breach are, or the incidents that led to the breach. Completely fine. And I'm not here to dissuade anybody who's really strongly against the fact that we went into a transfer embargo, because this is what's coming around Twitters again. So at that time, we went under a transfer embargo because we hadn't fulfilled our obligations. The mitigating circumstances that the club put forward were that we were undergoing a potential takeover with Dozy Mabuse. He'd put a significant investment into the club, almost 8 figures, so circa 10 million, between 8 and 12 from what you can read. The other thing was there was money owed to Sheffield United that we depended on to pay those instalments from other transfers of players that we'd sold. So 2 wrongs don't make a right in my book, and neither do EFL. So we got placed into a transfer embargo. What I didn't realise at the time, and maybe it's just naivety through not reading all the official documents, it was a 3-window transfer ban. So we only served one of those transfer bans because we got promoted. We served it in the remainder of that January transfer window. Then we got promoted in the summer. So we left the EFL, went into the EPL, Premier League, different laws and legislations. And another thing, that's whether you agree with that or not. So, sorry, EFL. You can't tell us that we can't spend money in the transfer window now because we're under a different authority. Well, now it looks like we're going back to the Championship because of our poor performance on the pitch. We could not do with the amount of, we've already spoken about it on this channel, the amount of change that's due at this club in terms of player turnover more than anything. There's a significant changes coming to the playing staff. I think that's obvious to anybody. And we could not have at least one, let alone 2 transfer windows where we can't spend any money. We weren't even going to be allowed to bring loans in under the transfer embargo. All we could have got was free transfers, which makes you think, essentially, we're going to renew players like Ollie Norwood and other players that you'd expect us to maybe bash, players you'd expect us to let go in the summer, in all honesty. We'd have to likely retain them because we're bringing in free transfers, if not, which we'd have had to do anyway to top up the squad. So there was no way we could go under a transfer. So this has been going on behind the scenes for some time, apparently. We hired Nick DeMarco, who was the FFP lawyer behind the Nottingham Forest cases. And I think he did a bit of work with Everton as well, but I can't be sure on that. So, yeah, that's where we are. And we've negotiated down to this as an alternative to having the transfer bans. And Dave Leary in our chat, fair play to Dave for putting a positive spin on it. 1 win, and it's essentially a draw in the sort of results books, and we're back on the positive points momentum. Nobody wants us to have a points deduction. And after all the positive news that came out about the improvements to the infrastructure and, potential Cat 1 Academy down the line and investment going back into the club, which is where all the money's gone, which is where people were crying out, what's happened to the money was the big question. There was a lot of goodwill that then swung towards the Prince, and people that are regularly on the Abdullah out train went quiet and were sort of put back in the box a little bit. This is now a perfect opportunity for people to jump back on, and I understand why they would. But there's been no new breach. This is a consequence of action that went before that we all knew about, and the EFL have decided to put their foot down basically and act on it. And part of us getting the lighter, and it is a lighter punishment, if you like, is because we've cooperated and we've held our hands up and said, look, let's work with you to come to some sort of resolution. There's no getting away from it. You can't justify it, whether it's a takeover, whether it's money's owed to us. You have to keep your own house in order. You have to pay your bills. And I understand we're a self-sustaining club. I understand the cash flow problems that Prince Abdullah admittedly has. He holds his hands up and says that. He's actively trying to sell the club or gain investment for the club to help us not only be sustainable, but push on to the next level, because he can't do it himself. He's said that himself. But you've got to pay your bills, and we are rightly being punished. And a lot of people are saying we're getting off lightly here. And when you strip it all back, it's hard to disagree. That we're getting off lightly. So usually for the warm-up, we just give it half an hour. But I appreciate this is a bit of a tasty subject, and we'll go for as long as I can tonight, for as long as we think is necessary to talk about this subject, because I don't just want to be able to brush it off and cut people off before they have a chance to have their say, because it's a meaty issue, isn't it? So let's jump in now. As I say, it were originally going to be a Brentford preview, and we can come to that, but Dublin Blade starts us off. First and only double of the season, 2-1 Den Blades. Same team as last week. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Yeah, I fancy a 2-1. Well, it's ridiculous to say, innit? I don't know. I did fancy earlier in the day. It's just sort of thrown me off kilter a bit, this news coming out now. So will it affect the players? Will it affect anybody at all? I don't think it will, personally. I'm hoping we can ride that positive wave of momentum. We have to build on the performances, Sam, last Sunday, and take that performance onto this one. Yes, we do, mate. Any updates on contracts, releases, new ownership? Contracts, we are on hold, Andrew, until the end of the season. The players that we want to speak to, or some of the players that we want to speak to, already know the offers in place. It's up to them whether they sign it or not. And if we're going to go back with an improved offer and do further negotiating, that will be at the end of the season, whether we agree with that approach or not. That's how we're taking it on. Releases, I think, from what I understand, those decisions are getting a lot closer. And new ownership, nothing at the moment, pal. Nothing in the pipeline as far as I'm aware. What's the excuse for the owner? Or is it simply no comment? I don't know whether you mean me in terms of giving him an excuse, but I'm not here to give anybody any excuses, and Prince Abdullah won't want me trying to paper over that for paper factory. But yeah, I've got no. I can't come out and say we should be supporting him because of this. I can only tell you my opinion, like I've done. And in terms of will he comment, I don't think so. I think it'll be the club statement that they stand by. Because the other thing is, it's considered a closed matter now. There's no right to appeal. There's nothing. It's done. It's all been sorted. This is what's going to happen the next time we're in the Championship. Danny boy, good evening, pal. Deserved in my opinion and fair. Can't whine about it happening to others, about rule breaking when we've broke. When Jimmy, look, we take it on the chin and we move on. It's only like first game of the season defeat. Can easily claw back what we lost. If we sold players to balance the books last season, we may not have gone up. I agree with that. At least we didn't, and we balanced the books now with Prem money, so better off now. Just proves our beloved Prince being a pauper, and shows we need real investment in the blades from a person or company with money. Prince has got to sell, or if we don't go up first time of asking Jimmy, we're in real trouble, mate. Take the deduction on the chin and make next season a great one to the fan base. Fall in love with football again by winning more than a handful of games, Jim. Up the blades, up the Ramble. Thank you, pal. Much appreciated. Let's go out. Dave Leary says, let's go and win the first game back in the Championship and treat it as a draw from a points perspective. Not going to worry about next season until that first ball is kicked. Keep the faith, up the blades, up the Ramble. Top man, keep calm, says Ian. We're staying up anyway. Up the blades, up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you, pal. And thank you to everybody for my birthday messages. Very much appreciated. I turned 40 yesterday and feel every bit of it. So, yeah, had a great time with the family over in Rotterdam or anywhere. Let's hope it stays as that, and a transfer embargo doesn't get placed upon us, we'll be screwed. There's 2 more points suspended, which is obviously the 4-point punishment. If we were to fall into any more financial difficulty, we won't. I'm confident, and I can't ever say for sure because I've not seen behind the curtain of the books or anything like that. But I'll be absolutely amazed if they let that happen. I know some of you won't be, but I would be. Could have been a lot worse, says Danny Boy. And what I know, the Blades accepted the ruling is they didn't want it to escalate to a worse points deduction or other transfer embargoes. There's a lot of players coming in or out next season, and it would have disrupted the flow of things and the changes the Blades want to happen. So a good decision in my view, Jimmy. I think it's a good decision in really, it's best of a, it's a rock and hard place, isn't it? But I think it's a sensible thing for the club to do in the circumstances. Tom, good evening, pal. Only United could be punished twice for the same offence. Embargo last season, points next season. Joke. Up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Hopefully thank you, pal, for that as well. Hopefully that's cleared it up for you, Tom, in terms of it's just an extension of the embargo punishment that we have negotiated into a points deduction instead, from what I understand. Unless the club is sold or money invested with what little money we have to spend, I don't think Chris Wilder can be trusted to buy the necessary quality. Up the Ramble, like and subscribe. Questioning Wilder. I think Wilder's sort of spearheaded a bit of a mini turnaround, not in terms of points, but you can certainly see the players are playing with the chest out now. So does that make a difference for you? It does for me. Does this mean we're not going to win the treble next season? Unfortunately, probably not, mate. Probably not. Could still win the league. Who knows? What's Vinny Souza done now, pal? He does note for me. Old Vinny. I'm hoping he's one of the players that moves on in summer, if I'm honest. I don't want it to become a personal thing because he seems like a likeable fella, but I need you to be more than likeable when you're playing in centre midfield for Sheffield United. More disappointing news, says Justin, but as long as lessons have been learned, then surely we can absorb the 2 points and move on. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Although, if it's true, regarding 5 transfers and up to 8.5 million, then that's very poor from the hierarchy. It must do better. Absolutely right. You can't not pay your bills. You can't not pay your bills. And we were in that spot, weren't we? For whatever reason it was. I'm not saying they can't justify why we didn't do it, but it's a terrible look on the club, isn't it? Absolutely terrible look. I don't buy into the rhetoric that it'll affect how we do business with other clubs or anything like that, because there's not a lot of money flying around. So if we offer a transfer fee to somebody, they're not going to say, oh, well, we might not get 100 grand of that, in time. It won't affect our business. I saw somebody saying it, I think Hal mentioned if we do business, a Blackburn going to want to do business with us again because we pipped them to a nil when they stopped because they couldn't afford him, and we swooped in and got him, even though we technically couldn't afford him. Well, we've sold him John Fleck, so they're happy to do that business with us as well. It won't affect anything in terms of which clubs want to do business with us. If we show them the cash, then they'll do business with us, no doubt about it in my mind. And in terms of Anel and that transfer that we've obviously missed a payment on, Anel, we are going to make a lot of money on Anel Ahmedhodzic, and I think it'll probably be this summer. I might be wrong. We might not get the valuation we want, but whatever it's going to be, it'll be more than the €5 million that we paid for him. So good business from my point of view. Just have been better if we'd have paid for him. Hi, Jimmy, and Prince Abdullah says, Bright, it's not all as bad as it could have been. At least it's out there. The bills have been paid, and I hope we now have got a clean slate and can move on. The new transfer window has got to be spot on and not leave us with any margins of error. Spend the money wisely. There'll be other clubs worse than us. Absolutely right, Bright. And we wouldn't have a chance to spend the money in the transfer window that we desperately need to do if we hadn't negotiated this as an outcome instead. So I completely agree with that. Don't agree with the takeover causing this. Takeover or no takeover, we need to pay our debts next time. I agree, Justin. Absolutely agree. There's no excuse for not paying your bills. It's not good enough, is it? And I think all involved would probably say the same, to be honest. Just proves how much we are run on a shoestring when we can't pay other clubs, i.e. Liverpool, due to other clubs owing us money. So we're punished twice, having a transfer embargo and now a points deduction. Yeah, again, it's all pieced into the same punishment. But you're right, it's a poor show when you're relying on money coming in from another instalment from someone else to pay your own bills. If it wouldn't surprise me if a lot of clubs are run like that, but it's still really sort of dodgy ground, isn't it? Really dodgy ground. Sir Skint Abdullah says Ole needs to leave the club. Take Stephen Bettis with him. Points deduction, transfer embargo, and two of the worst Prem teams ever. Just pack your bags and leave. Strong from Ole. Strong. And some fans will feel like that. Got away with only a 2-point deduction, to be honest, after a transfer embargo. It was expected, but would have been better to take them off this season, not next. Yeah, absolutely right. Would say 2 points is anything to... Wouldn't say, I think you mean is 2 points is anything to worry about. I agree. All this means is we have to smash it next season up the Blades, up the Ramble. Absolutely right, and I think we will. The phrase I was given was, we're going for it next season. We are going for it. You know, and that's easily said and not very easily done, but we're certainly going to give it a go. Chris says, I think it'll affect us mentally more than anything else, being bottom straight from the off and a huge pressure to hit the ground running early. Understand Prince doesn't have the money to take us forward, but it's impacting us on the pitch now. In terms of the deduction itself, it shouldn't be enough to cost us promotion or anything. Still expect us to be up there. I do too, Chris. You could also look at it as motivation, that we have been punished through no fault of the players, no fault of the current manager. So, and I'm not saying Hecky was to blame either, by the way. I'm not saying it had anything to do with Hecky, but certainly Chris Wilder wasn't even at the club when all that took place. So it may even galvanise the squad, if you want to look at it that way. I'm not saying it's a good thing it's happened. It's definitely not. But yeah, it can work in a number of ways. Not like we'll have to worry about it anyway, as we're staying up the Blades, up the Ramble. Top man, Chris, appreciate that. The players we need to bring in have got to be spot on. Need to tell the players ASAP who's staying and who's going. One player for me we need to grab as a bargain, even though he's played for Leeds, is Ayling. I think Ayling's out of contract at the end of the season and can play centre-back or right-back or right-wing-back, and a decent player, and he leads the back line really well. I was a fan of Ayling. I'm not a fan now, to be honest. I think he's gone in terms of, I watched him a lot at Leeds, and he was the weak link towards the end of his time there, which is why they were so, even though he's been such a servant to him, they were so keen to get him off the books. And they're in the Championship, remember, they didn't think he was good enough. So they brought in Connor Roberts to replace him, who's doing a lot better. I'm not a big fan. In terms of telling the players now who's staying, who's going, certainly if we're the ones making the decision, obviously the players hold the power as well in terms of whether they want to stay. If you turn around to somebody like Ollie Norwood and say, it's a take it or leave it, and if you don't sign it by next weekend, you're not going to be here next season, what incentive has he got then till the end of the season? You know what? Or if you say to somebody like Ollie Norwood, we're going to release you in the summer, what motivation has he got to try and keep Sheffield United in the Premier League? And I know that sounds laughable, but you know what I'm saying? I think sometimes if we show his hand too early, then the players, and plus there might be a lot, even though we're making a lot of decisions, you can't tell me that Ollie McBurney hasn't changed some of our minds really as to whether it's, for those that were on the fence, that he's probably pushed us towards, well, we'll probably need to keep him actually in the last few performances. So there may still be some decisions to be made. Alan Barnes, thank you for becoming a new Rambler. Very much appreciated, pal. If you go to our community page, my contact number's in there, which you'll be able to see now that you're a Rambler, and I'll get you in our WhatsApp group if that's something you fancy. That has been a very interesting read this afternoon. Some very strong. Scott, I hope you're okay. And some very measured, interesting debate going on. Also, Smodics, if Blackburn go down, as well as Whittaker from Plymouth too, Johansson from Rotherham as well, and take a punt on that Turkish Hull striker as he can lead the line and actually hit a ball. Smodics, I think, will probably play in the Prem next season. And I wouldn't be sure anyway. I'm never convinced by one season, men. And that might be, I'm not saying he won't be a very good player, but I won't be dropping 10+ million on him. Whittaker I really like, and I think will play really well on the right side of our attack. If you're playing like a James McAtee player, I know the Turkish lad you're on about. I'm not convinced, to be honest. I haven't seen enough of him, to be honest, Danny. Also, just heard Anel has changed agents, and he's given them instructions. He wants to leave Blades at the end of the season if we go down or not. He's signed to the same agency as Son from Spurs. 3 clubs are interested. Anel has changed agents. He hasn't instructed them, as far as anybody's aware, that he wants to leave. That's been assumed that that's the reason he's signed with the new agency. Unless you've heard anything I haven't, Danny. I'm not saying you haven't, but I've certainly not heard that. He's signed to the same agency as Son. Yeah, but I think it's also agency for a lot of players. I'm pretty sure Ollie Arblaster signed up to that agency before he signed his new deal with us. So an agent's job is just to get the best deal for their client, isn't it? So it's not necessarily to get a move away. It's just to get the best deal for their man. We just need a buyer for Sousa now. Don't think many teams would want him on how he's performing in the Prem at the moment. I think get most out of the deal. It's got to be a loan with an obligation to buy. Yeah, maybe so. I mean, we need that brass in, don't we, next season? We've still got a deficit to meet. As according to him, playing in a more possession-based team and having the ball will get him into the Brazil side. Call his bluff. And with that, it may increase the value of him, Jimmy. Absolutely right. Did you have a good birthday, Jimmy? I had a brilliant time. Thank you, pal. Brilliant time. So thank you for that. Can't wait for FFP TV to join in this stream. Everybody's welcome, but it's about Sheffield United, isn't it? So that's all we're bothered about. Evening, Sarah. Nothing straightforward being a Blade, is it? No, it's not. No, it's not. Never boring, though. Never boring. It's 2 points. It's done with. Let it go, says Dino. We should be good enough to clear that easily. I think so, too. I think so. Owner has to go, says Middledale. Simple as that, really. We can't afford to be in financial struggling situations. -2 points could cost us promotion at the end of the day. If you look at how tight the current promotion race is in the Championship, it could cost us promotion. It's very unlikely to be like that next season for me. I don't think it's very rare that it's so tight between the top 3. But it could. It could. There's no doubt about it, but I don't think it will. Hi, Jimmy. Why do clubs like Blades, Everton and Forest get stung while Man City and Chelsea get away with murder? All about the Benjamins, I think, without being too cynical about it, Kev. Had we not got promoted, how bad of a mess would we have been in, Jimmy? Up the Blades and up the Ramble. Like and subscribe. Thank you for your support, pal. And we would have been in a right mess. A right mess. I'm told that it wouldn't have been as bad as administration, but it wouldn't have been far off. Because ultimately, we held on to star players, possibly too long, some would say, like Illiman and Dye, like Sanderberger, to try and get promoted. And it worked, thankfully. We could have sold them, and the money would have been more evenly balanced across the squad, would have been more sustainable, if you like, which is obviously the model we're going for now. But, yeah, don't bear thinking about, really. I think the Prem might change the rules before City get done. I think they probably will, Sarah. It might well be a financial penalty that'll be pocket change to them. Good evening, Andrew. Up the tricky trees, Everton, Leicester, United. Where does it all stop? Who do you think will be next? Well, it sounds like Leeds are in a bit of bother, Andrew, at the minute. So, it wouldn't upset me, to be honest. Chris Smith, happy birthday for the other day. Thank you, pal. It's all downhill from here. 2 points seems harsh, but when we win the championship with 100 points next year, we won't care. No, we won't, mate. We won't. So we've got -2 points instead of a season transfer embargo. Thank God we did it. There you go, Middledill. Doesn't make it a positive, though. It doesn't, as we should have never been in this situation. What is happening with all these contract situations? No, we have options on a lot, but players like McBurney, Jebison and Baldock don't, and we need them sorting. Are we waiting until the season is done? Yes, that's my understanding. Darren Smith's been active on Twitter today saying, just reaffirming what I've said, really, that contract talks will likely now take place at the end of the season. It's not all the club deciding to leave these until the last minute. We have been trying to talk to players for a long time. Admittedly, it's easier to make your decisions when you know what league you're going to be in, and we do now, most likely, don't we? But why would George Baldock in April say, okay, I'll sign with Sheffield United, even though we're going to be in Championship, I'll sign with you, when he could entertain offers from abroad, or he might even get a couple of Prem offers, in the summer. So they're all going to collate their options, aren't they, surely? And it makes sense for them. We don't like it. We don't have to like it. But that's ultimately the position we're in. 3-window embargo could have happened if we hadn't gone up. So the scheme of things for next season, suppose we have to take it on the chin, says Ray. But it can't happen again. Up the blades, up the ramble. It can't, mate. Always protecting the prince. I don't know what you want to say. If this is what we call a sustainable model for getting points deduction, the Abdullah fraud needs to sell the club on a technicality. Abdullah out, and then William jumps in as well. Abdullah out. Listen, you can have that opinion all day long. Because I don't have that opinion doesn't mean I'm protecting anybody. I don't know how else I can say it's completely unacceptable not to pay your bills. And that is the reason. Prince Abdullah ultimately is the reason. He put 40 million in last season, I believe, from the accounts. Somebody may correct me if I'm wrong. So he has given a fair bit. And I suppose, just surmising, he could have put 50 million in and absolved us of all these issues. But it's been a choice to go down the sustainable route. Whether that's, where do you cut it off? Where do you cut off the war chest that who you got in mind to buy him out? Yeah, exactly. To all these Prince Abdullah out, he'd listen to offers for those that want him out. In an ideal world, we pay our bills on time. Correct. Almost every club is in the same position. 2 points docked instead of selling Berger and Illy in January and sabotaging promotion is the right decisions. We move on. I think that's where we've got to be. In the grand scheme of things, says Rob, -2 is better than transfer embargoes for a season. So at least the rebuild can continue or start, really, because what would that have done to us? A 2-season transfer embargo? Horrendous. Kevin McCabe. You want Kevin McCabe in here? Oh, dearie me. And Ian says he's retracted that, but I don't know whether that's the comment I've seen. So there you go. Jimmy, did you have a good birthday yesterday? I did, thank you, pal. Surely this is more motivation to stay up. I would. Yeah, maybe so. Where's Prince Abdullah in the chat? Stop hiding. He's a watcher rather than a commenter, I believe. Liverpool or Rome? Yes. I've had that said a couple of times. I assume we're still owing money on the transfers. Is the plan for the summer to pay back all these 5 clubs and start afresh in the summer? Sell to buy, cheerio and Ellen Souza, and hello a few ins. From what I understand, we've almost paid all the fees off now, which was part of the restricted buying process. I think there's still a couple of smaller, what they call it, installments left, Scott. But I don't know the ins and outs. But I've been told let's have a mini protest. Oh, dearie me. Wes or Gerbich should have saved us from this. Dearie me. If we broke the rules, we have to accept the punishment, says Josh. Completely agree, pal. Completely agree. Wilder is the man. Let's not doubt him. Let's just get our contracts sorted. Cash in on Souza and unfortunately sell Nell. And let's get good free transfers and buy some good players and kick on. I think that's exactly what we'll do. Don't even know why they're having a go at the gaffer. Got to be happy how we played at the weekend. I agree. I don't think many are having a go at Wilder, to be fair, just odd one or two. And they're entitled to that, but it's not. I don't share the opinion. Just a shame we'll only effectively gain 4 points on the Pigs next year with the -2. Yes, Ben, that's right. Oh, duh. I'm dreading those games. I hope they go down. Surely the Prince gets us some sponsor money like City. I don't know, mate. I don't know the ins and outs of our sponsorship deals, if I'm honest, at the moment, unless they're hot off the press. In Wilder we trust, but he doesn't know how to use it when he has some, i.e. McBurney and Brewster. Like and subscribe. Buy the merch. Nice. I haven't released the merch for it. Well, I've still got some on the website. I'm looking at getting some more, actually. So thank you, Neil, for the unexpected plug. So we can't finish with 138 points. That's true. We'll have to settle for 136. Dino, looking forward to next season in the Prem anyway. Championship can go forth and multiply. Show a bit of backbone, boys. Up the blades, up the ramble, and get Ollie Mack and BBD signed, or will be forgiven. I think Ollie Mack might sign. I don't know why. I just get a feeling that he could. I think Wilder will play a big factor in that. I don't think we'll get Broughton Diaz back. I know you're saying that in jest anyway, Dino, I think, but I don't think Broughton Diaz will sign next season. Say what you want about the Prince, but he's only got the club's best interest at heart. I agree, Rich, but I can't find my tin hat anywhere, so I'm going to sort of step back from that for a second. Clearly, the 8 million the Prince got from Dozy went into his back pocket. Otherwise, he would have used the money to make the transfer payments and avoid this points deduction. It's in the accounts, I believe, Paul. It's in the accounts. The young lad from Forest that scored twice against our under-21s in the Prem Cup is worth monitoring. Reminds me of the lad from Strasbourg that Torres and you won in pre-season. That's some recommendation, that. I know Asula scored twice, but I don't know who scored for Forest. Like and subscribe. Get Jimmy over the line for the next milestone. Thank you, pal. We're less than 50 away from 4K. That'd be great. Thank you. But, Santos. Oh, is he they'll have signed him for like 8 million quid or something and just can't fit him in. Ridiculous. Sanad says, Prince Abdullah, Prince of Thieves, embarrassing. Shambles of a club. Karma is a naughty word. Blades Ramble. Sorry, missed the start. Do you think it'll affect us that much? I don't, Jack. I don't, mate. Hi, Jimmy. Just dropping by to say hello. Up the Blades and up the Ramble. Thank you, Mr. V. One of our long-time supporters. Top Rambler. Hope you're well, pal. We'll just have to finish on 98 points and not 100. God, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Love that. On to Brentford. Fancy us to win 3-1 and gain some real momentum. Ready for next season. Do you know what? I'm going to put this up again, and it's been my team for the last 3 games. That's my team. I'll knock this comment off just so you can see it. That's my team again. Now, I know Jackie Longthrow is a doubt because he rolled his ankle, apparently. I know that he preferred Trusty in at left wing back and Ozzy in midfield, and I thought Ozzy held his own okay. But for me, just the one change, I would go with Brooksy in instead of Trusty and have Ozzy at left wing back. And I think that's a decent team for Brentford. I think that's going for it, to be honest. I think we'll do all right. Let me know your teams if you agree or disagree. Where are we now? I've lost my place now. That we're always going to happen. Do you think we could give Calvin Phillips away back next season, loan or buy? I don't think we'd be able to afford Calvin Phillips' right boot, to be honest. And that's a shame on 2 counts. One, because as a relegated Premier League club, we should have a very good budget that would be able to bring in out of favour Premier League players. But also the other shame about it is Calvin Phillips has fallen off a cliff. I think he'll end up back at Leeds, if I'm honest. If they go up, I think he'll end up back at Leeds. It's a straightforward, easy one. I think they will sell their jewel in the crown. What's his name again? Young kid in midfield. Archie Gray. And I think Calvin Phillips will come in as his replacement. It's just a bit of Mystic Meg for you there. Why do the team that gets punished and not the financial people? Surely they should. Why do the team get punished and not the financial people? Surely they should have been punished. How else do you punish us, mate? This is going to affect Prince Abdullah more than any of us because it's a huge hit to the value of the club. I suppose the 2 points isn't a huge hit, but any punishment that devalues the club is affecting him more than anyone in it. I think we'll at least draw against Brentford, maybe nick it, up the Blades, up the Ramble. I fancy it's 2-1, you know. 2-1. If he's watching, Prince, sell to one of your rich cousins or sell. Okay. Up the Blades, says Wayne, the actor. up the Ramble, take the hit next year as long as we can buy players and rebuild. Yeah, I agree. Do you think Jebison will sign? I'm worried about McBurney to Rangers. Also, Wilder said something about not wanting so many injury-prone players. Do you think it will be us who might reject Baldock? Could be. Could be. The Prince famously said, which has been repeated a lot of times since, he famously said in the interview on this channel, the best ability is availability. So if you sign Ollie McBurney to a contract that's worth 50 grand a week and he only plays half of those games through injury, you're essentially paying him 100 grand a week, aren't you, for the time he's available. So as a business, and when you crunch the numbers, you have to assess players' availability. I still think for the fact that we'd lose him for nothing, and then we'd certainly have to pay, whether that's a strong loan fee or forking out some wedge to get a player anywhere near his sort of ability is a strong word. And I'm conscious my dad's watching. So, but you know what I mean? We'd be losing him for nothing. So to sign him up again, it's probably worth paying him a little bit more than you would a new signing. I don't think we'll lose McBurney. I'm not sure that Jebison re-signs. I keep hearing that he will. All signs say that he won't, and then I keep hearing that he will, or we're confident that he will. And Baldock, I really hope we re-sign him. I know we really rate him as a player and as a personality, but I just think he'll have other options that he'll want to explore. I hope I'm wrong though. He's my captain. I know Robbo's done really well with Armband, but I love George Baldock. Dreading the Pigs games. My manager's a Pig supporter. Yeah, you and me both, pal. Canati is the Forest lad, Jimmy. Oh, scored it. All right. Oh, I thought it was Santos that they said. Who do you think's going down and up from the champ this season? Not who do you want, but who do you think? I thought Wednesday will go down all season until this midweek. It all went wrong. I think Leicester, Leeds and Ipswich will all go up. Obviously, one through playoffs. I couldn't tell you which one at the minute. Probably Leeds. And I think Wednesday get out of it. Obviously, Rotherham are already down. I think probably Plymouth and Huddersfield. Maybe Birmingham drop, but I don't think Wednesday will go. See you all at the Burnley game. Let's get payback. Yes, you will, pal. We'll be there, triple point, as per. I don't know if you've seen it yet, Jim, but Egan and Robinson were in training today. Yeah, I saw that. Positives. I don't think Egan will play, though. I don't think Egan will be back till this season, from what Wilder was saying early doors. Genuinely looking forward to next season based on last few performances, says Matthew. Hope we can keep hold of Hamer. Me too. Not too concerned who departs. It's going to be a fresh look regardless. Agreed. Sensible. Are we still due a sell-on if Dominic Calvert-Lewin goes for the reported 40 million? Yeah, and how are they getting 40 million for him? We are due a sell-on. I don't know what it is. It's minimum, because it was some time ago now, obviously. Minimum 10%. I would expect it. We normally go for around 20% now. So hopefully it's the latter. But yeah, we are due a sell-on. I don't think Leeds will sell Gray next season. I reckon he'll stick around. But yeah, wouldn't be surprised with KP ending up back at Leeds. It's incredible that after Forest, we've drove Ollie Mack anywhere. Now we'll be heartbroken if he doesn't sign. I won't be heartbroken. But I think it'd be sensible for the club to re-sign him. Somerville, however, will probably go, whether they go up or not. Yeah, I agree. Too good for them. There's only one man I want. You are my Mumba, my Barley Mumba. You make me happy when guys are great. Barley Mumba's a good player. Signing for £1 million, I think, from Norwich. Did Plymouth. There'll be some vultures around Plymouth, I think, if they go down. Anyone we need to sell will need to be replaced as equal or better. We won't get somebody equivalent to Anel. Some of it has to be to balance the books, pal. We won't get. But just because we're going to need quantity over that quality of Anel, I still think we'll be a better squad for it. Can't wait to see the back of Sousa and Anel. Wilder will sort it. First game. We'll win first game and all will be forgotten. You know what footy fans are like. Oh, you well, Jim Bob. Happy belated birthday up the Blaze up the Ramble. Thank you, pal. Yes, I'm great. And I agree. We're all fickle, aren't we? I love our fan base because we're all so up and down, aren't we? I get that there's some of us that can just be, quite steady through it all. But the reactions, and like I said, in our group today, it's been great because just some characters that are like, that's it. It's the end. Get him out. We're going to go to League Two. It's just funny to see some different reactions. Insane to imagine that we'll be heartbroken if Ollie goes on a free. 2 years ago, 99% of us would have drove him wherever he wanted to go. Came off the bench against us, scored a beautiful first goal. Perhaps Faxon should have done better for the second. All right, interesting. I know Faxon's been fancied from bigger clubs, hasn't he? The keeper. I don't think they'll sell Hamer. It's a stupid idea. We may not have a choice. By all accounts, there's a relegation release clause with Gus Hamer, from what I understand. Don't know what figure we're looking at, but it'll be for more than we signed him for. So when are you next doing a watch-along? I don't know, actually, pal, but the plan is to do a watch-along for the vast majority. I can't say every, because Mrs. Ramble will kill me, but the vast majority of away games next season, because I know I'll be able to get them all on SUTV. We'll just pay for a pass and get those games broadcast, and it will hopefully be in there in the studio. That's hoping to start very soon, and I'm very excited about it. We are leveling up, and I love it. I might be alone in this opinion, but I would love for us to hold on to Nel. I think he's certainly improved in the last few games, and don't get me wrong. Ultimately, when you sit down and you look at it sensibly, he's our best defender. He's certainly most versatile we've got. He can play on either side. When his head's in the right headspace, which it hasn't been for a lot of the season, he's a very good player. And I think in the Championship, he's proven that when we have more possession of the ball and he can carry it out of defence, he's very effective in possession of the ball. Having said that, he's one of our few saleable assets, and I think he will have to be sacrificed. I'm not saying he definitely will, because if people don't meet the valuation, then we won't sell him. But I think I would be surprised if he doesn't go. But I understand your thought process, Sarah. Sorry for the repeat, deleted one with a typo. That's all right, pal. The Greek lad for Norwich is out of contract. Left-footed might be a decent option. If he said his name, I might know it, but not off the top of my head. I'm just as confused as you with this Jebison talk, with everyone like Wilder and Betty saying he will sign, but nothing happens. I just want him signed up. He'll be class next season, 100%. I'm not convinced by Jebison. I think if he's 25, nobody's bothered. But because he's 19, 20, everybody's like, oh my God, he's got so much potential. And he has. I'm not saying he's not going to be a quality player, but I think Asula's overtaken him. I think Asula can't finish at the moment for whatever reason. He can in 21s, and then you can't hit a band off at first team, unfortunately. I think it's just a confidence thing and composure in front of goal. But Wilder and Bettis wouldn't put the neck on line if they didn't really think there's a chance of him signing. I just think all other signs, apart from what they're saying, looks like he's going. So it wouldn't surprise me either way now, because I completely trust Wilder. And as I say, I wouldn't say it if he didn't think it was most likely to happen. What do you think about Real Madrid versus Man City match on Tuesday? Didn't see it, pal. Didn't see it. I was on a ferry, but I heard it was a cracker. Hamer goes if Coventry come up. Yeah, Coventry won't come up. Evening, Jimmy. I hope we let McBurney go on his history with. And who do you think Wilder will let go up the Ramble, up the Blades? I don't know. It depends. I think we've got loads that'll go. We've got loads out of contract, and I think he will see it as a clean sweep, really. I would expect stalwarts that can still offer us something like McBurney and Egan to be offered new contracts. But everybody else is, does Baldock get a contract? I think probably yes, but does he accept it? We don't know. And that'll probably change plans, won't it? So I think Norwood might go. He's not really done anything with Norwood since a couple of shocking performances when he's brought him on. Osborne, he's said he's going to offer a contract to. So yeah, I think there'll only be a few contracts renewed and the rest will end up going, if I'm honest. I don't think Larouci will see again. Any news on this West Ham striker we've been linked to? It was news to me, that, Ollie. A lot of people, it were reported from, I think it was Alan Nixon, that we're after a West Ham striker, 19-year-old, on loan. Then a lot of people jumped on saying, well, looking at transfer market, he's out of contract at end of season, so it must be a free. Then it turns out West Ham might have an option. So that's why it's a loan. Don't know anything about the kid, to be honest. So get ready for loads of these rumours, by the way. Loads of them. I'm away at the minute. What's happened? You know what's happened, surely. 2 points deduction for Sheffield United in the Championship next season, if that's where we are. You need to go shopping at Peterborough, 100%. They've at least 3 players I'd look at, especially the left wing back, Harrison Burrows. Absolutely right. That position is a priority. I'll be amazed if we're not looking at him. Absolutely amazed. Gianna Lewis, no, can't say his name, so can't picture him, to be honest. But I like a couple of Norwich's players. Sean Bean and Billy Sharp for the new owners. If this has been brewing in the background, I wonder if this has been an extra load on the players this season. Probably just a straw, but it's there perhaps. I don't think so. I might have done, and it's just an opinion that it hasn't. But I don't think these things tend to affect players. Certainly, you look at somebody like a Cameron Archer. He knows he's not going to play in Championship, so it doesn't affect him one bit if we get deducted in Championship. Love how much channel's grown in such a short space of time. Thank you, mate. Called it from the beginning. Climb the tree to 3. Yeah, the canoe to 200. And yeah, there was some, what were it? Open the door to 4. What were the 5? It were Let's Talk About 6, which were Boris Johnson dancing. Oh, someone will have to remind me what those videos were. I'll have to dig them out somewhere. That were really good fun. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate that, mate. We have to keep Hamer at all costs. Can't replace someone like him. Would be season defining. Now, I agree with that comment, and I have kept the faith with Gus Hamer. But I have to say, I think only recently as he started. Listen, he's sort of crept up there with goal involvements. I think he's got 10, scored 6, made 4, something like that. I thought his pass for Bogle at the weekend were just sublime. But I think he's finally starting to settle in the squad and know his place a little bit. And I genuinely think if we play him a little bit higher in like the 10, that is where we'll get the most out of him. Only been keeping up with Sheffield United last season, so trying to figure out how everything works with transfers. That's absolutely fine, pal. No problem at all. Liam, belated happy birthday, pal. Up the Ramble. Thank you, mate. Much appreciated. Lawrence, good evening. Jebbo will never be a footballer. Said it 2 seasons ago, and same for Sousa. Called it from the first pre-season game. Also called out the new keeper. Keeper is poor. He's not made a great impression, has he, Gerbic? Some people are very down on him already. Matthew, good evening again. I don't think I've seen enough from Jebbo for me to decide whether he's going in the direction of Calvert-Lewin or Jordan Slew. We offer a contract. If he rejects, move on. We only want people that are committed. I think the contract's been offered. You know, it's not currently in negotiation. Well, it might be. I can't say that's not fair for me to say whether it is or it isn't. It's just I've been told a lot of the contracts are on hold at the moment. I'm just looking forward to having 5 domestic loans. Oh, can you imagine 5 loans from the Prem? It's such a huge difference between the leagues. They've got to look at that. Either you strip it down to 4 loans in Champ and 3 loans in Prem, get it closer together, because we end up being stronger in Championship than we are in Prem. Because that 5 loan thing. I don't think Isula has overtaken him. Last season when we started to slip, he was one of the reasons why we got back on track. Got pace, height, and good on the ball. Just needs working on finishing. Fair enough. It's an opinion, pal. Don't you think it's odd how there's been no build-up to the deduction? It just happened. I think it's just been kept well under wraps. Can you imagine if it were hanging over us publicly? That'd have been tragic, wouldn't it? Let's be right. We're already on a downer. We were losing, playing really poorly. When we've picked up on the pitch, thankfully, recently, but I'm glad it hadn't come out earlier. I really like Hamer and Diaz. Yeah, me too, pal. I think a lot of us do at the minute. Strive for thrive. Yeah, it was something like that. Hamer just needed Blaster playing alongside him to give him the freedom to play his game. How good. We haven't mentioned him tonight. Ollie R. Blaster. Appreciation mention. We should make that every time we go live, we should give Ollie R. Blaster an appreciation nod. What a player. You're right, Rob. Of all the players who were out of contract, I'd let Fodringham, Adam Davis, Basham, Norwood, Lowe, and keep the rest. It wouldn't surprise me to see all of those go. I think they could. I think all of those could go, which means we definitely need a keeper, which we knew anyway. And Victor Johansson is right there. What else can you say? He's right there, staring at us in the face. Right. We'll end it there because I think that's everybody's comments sorted out. So thank you very much for interacting with me tonight. Again, this was due to be a Brentford warm-up. So you've seen my team. If not, scroll back a little bit, you'll see it. And I'm going for a 2-1 Blades victory. I'm really quite confident. I'd love to do a watch-along, but I don't think it'll be shown anywhere legally. So I don't think I can. But as I say, next season, we're well on that train. So we'll be back for a 90 after 90, probably pretty directly afterwards. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the Blades!
Ramble, Ramble.